Good morning, everybody. Today I am very pleased to be able to be here with Beth Braun, who I must say, Beth, is a longtime childhood friend. We go back, I'm not going to say how many years, but we kind of grew up together. So it's really quite something to see how our lives keep coming in and out together. And on a more serious note, that today's topic is one that is difficult, but it provides so much hope and help to people. And I do want to say right at the outset that we are going to be talking about sexual violence today, sexual trauma. And because of the content, we want to encourage everyone who's listening to really take a moment to make sure that you're ready to hear today's conversation. As we always do, we'll have it up on the website, on our different platforms, so it'll be there when you're ready. But please do make sure to note that this is not an easy topic, but it's a really vitally important topic. And you have really, Beth, dedicated your professional career to your love of dance and using it in this profound way to help so many young people in particular. So Beth Braun is the founder and executive artistic director of Esperanza Dance Project, which I've been following since really the beginning. And you have just breathed life into this project in such a meaningful way. And I'm not going to go through them all now, but I do encourage people to take a look at your background, your biography. The number of awards is, amazing. And it speaks to the dedication and the true work that you just are like, you are on a mission. You are just there for everybody. And it's really wonderful to be able to put a spotlight on what you have done, you and your team, and the dancers who have come through as well. So I am going to stop talking, take a breath, and ask you, Beth, to tell us, how did you come to create Esperanza Dance Project in Arizona?
So, thank you so much, Robin. And everything you just said means the world to me.
Oh, thanks.
Thank you. And I'm so really happy to be here and to be talking about Esperanza Dance Project. So I came to create Esperanza. There were lots of different elements that brought me to this project. And so first I'll say I started dancing when I was 5 and have been dancing for, I'm not going to say how many years, but many, 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 many years. And throughout my life, my dancing life, dance has literally saved me.
Yep.
And saved my life and helped me find a reason to keep going. It and there the times that it did that, I wasn't even aware. It was like, you and I have talked about losing spouses, and when my spouse passed away, at first I had decided I did not want to dance. He and I were very, he was a musician. We worked together a lot, and I just couldn't even imagine.
Yep. I get it.
However, I kept going to rehearsals.
Yeah.
And, it was almost like my body went into auto drive and
muscle memory. Yeah.
Yeah. And I just got into my car, went to rehearsals. When I danced, I felt like I was still alive, and, and then I'd get in my car and cry the whole way home.
Sure.
But the more I went and moved my body, I didn't even realize how, some of the grief got released a little bit as I moved my body. And, there's such a brain body connection when we dance that I cannot, when I am dancing at the level that I used to dance, my brain had to be fully connected to my body. So I had that experience as a professional dancer. I have been an educator. I'm retired now from that job. I taught high school for 20 years, high school dance. And I was at two different high schools. The second one, I was there for 17 years and had really wonderful relationships with my students. So another piece of this is my daughter, who is now 35. She When she was growing up, she had there were a lot of mysteries in her health and mental health. And at probably the first time I remembered that she had a migraine, when I was able to identify it, she was 8. So that was one of the first things. Was when she was about 12, her migraines were incredibly severe, debilitating. She could not go to school. I will also say that I was married a couple of times. The first time to someone, and about 2 years after we were married, I became pregnant and had my daughter. The marriage did not last. He is a very unhealthy human, and my daughter was about 6 when I moved out with my daughter. We were divorced probably about 2 years after that. But when I moved out was when things became a little bit worse in terms of my daughter. Oh yeah. She had very severe depression when she was 6, 7. She didn't want to do anything. Everybody just thought it was because of the divorce and whatnot. And through the years, again, things escalated: depression, anxiety, eating disorders, the chronic migraines that she was hospitalized for.
Oh my God.
Yes, self-harm. Eventually, she started self-medicating, first on the medication that we had gotten for her migraines, and that then led her into using some pretty hardcore drugs by the time she was 18. And at that point, she didn't want to live any longer. And so I got her the help that she needed. I knew that I was not a therapist. I was mom. I needed to make sure she got what she needed. She was in rehab for 6 months. She was in sober living for 6 months, and she started to heal. She started, it's been a long road, and she is an amazing, amazing person. She put herself through college. She put herself through graduate school, got her master's in social work, was going on to begin her PhD, and then decided no, she really wanted to go to law school. So she's law school's a little bit on hold right now, because within that process, and about the same time she was getting ready to start law school, she took in 4 foster children.
I remember that. Oh.
And yeah, and now 3 years they were fostered for 3 years, and then she and her husband adopted them. So
it's amazing, isn't
she
it?
has an amazing life. Yes. Yes, really truly amazing. And in all of this, then I had to take a look at what I had been through. I
Sure.
realized after a number of years that she and I shared the same abuser, and that yes, I am a survivor of domestic violence and sexual violence, emotional
Sure.
trauma, all of these things that I've learned so much about over the years. So as an educator, when my daughter went into rehab, there I was in my dance studio every day with a bunch of teenagers on a campus with thousands of teenagers. And I started noticing a lot of things in a lot of the youth on that campus that I would say good morning to them and they couldn't look me in the eye, that they hid their hair, they hid their hoodies.
Right.
They, I love to wear like a lot of bracelets. I don't have them on today,
I remember last time I saw
but
you, you had
yes,
quite the
I
set.
love
Yeah.
my bracelets. I do not wear them for the same reason that teenagers wear them, because 50% of teenagers experience self-harm
Right.
and they wear all of
Cover it up.
those. Yep. Um, so I started noticing all of those things, and then I learned statistics about sexual violence. And the most going statistic that we will hear or see on the RAIN website, which is rape, abuse, incest network, something else network. And maybe we can put their.
Yes, I'm making a note to do that. We'll have that
Yes.
resource up on the site along with Esperanza Dance Project for sure.
Thank you. Thank you. So, the statistic that I first became aware of was 1 out of every 4 girls and 1 out of every 6 boys will experience some form of sexual abuse before the age of 18. And I told that when I had a conversation with my daughter. Um, oh, I need to say that when she went into rehab, she had finally told a friend. This is the biggest piece that I forgot. There are so many elements. Um, she told a friend that night that she had been sexually abused by her biological father from she couldn't even remember what age.
She was so young.
Yes. And so
And Beth, how old was she when she went into rehab? That was around high school?
she was 18.
18. Okay. Yeah.
Yes.
So
Yes.
all those years she was keeping it to herself. And
Which
all these things were manifesting as a result of that, obviously.
that's exactly what I started to learn. Everything that goes along with childhood sexual trauma.
Yeah.
And so I was in my dance studio with my advanced class. There were 24 kids in the class. One was a boy. All the rest were female, identified as being female. And I just thought, oh my God, 1 in every 4. And I looked around and I have goosebumps right now. And so with that, I started doubting how I was spending my professional life in
Mm.
terms of um that I was spending my life dancing.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden it felt like it wasn't enough. And I was going to go into I had decided I was going to leave my job in a year and go into working in treatment. And I I had started the process. I volunteered at an eating disorder um, rehab at the time, and I was in my dance studio one night, and I was talking to one of my students, and we had rehearsals at night all times. And so we were talking, and I started to tell her about my plan. And she was a senior. She had been in my class all 4 years.
Oh, wow. Okay.
And I said to her, I need to use my life to save lives. I'm not doing enough. And she had tears in her eyes, and she said to me, Miss Braun, every day I walk into this dance studio and you save my life.
Oh,
And that was when I understood
the power.
how dance enables me to speak to people without words, to support them without words, to
100%. This is what the arts can do for people. Beth, you're living it.
yes.
Oh my God.
And it became so clear to me, Robin, just so clear. And then I started to reach out to my people in the community. So, some dance, definitely some other dance people,
Yeah,
not that many,
right.
but different artists and guidance counselors. Like when I taught for all those years,
Sure, you had a network.
people on the campus were the guidance
Yeah,
counselors,
of course.
the other art people there. I reached out to a couple of organizations here in town. One is Southern Arizona Center Against Sexual Assault. So they're called SACASA, and they are amazing. I learned so much from them, and they happened to be on my campus when I was in the beginning stages of creating Esperanza. And not only were they on my campus, they were in a classroom above my dance.
Oh, it was meant to be.
So meant to be. And what they were doing was they were teaching high school students how to be peer advocates.
Sure.
And what I learned back then was, as a peer advocate, they're not mandatory reporters, whereas every other adult on the campus.
Oh, to a legal, or to like a somehow for the law. Okay.
Yes.
Okay. So it starts to get very, official.
They are taught that if the person who they're talking to is a harm to themselves or to someone else, that they do need to tell an adult.
Yes.
But otherwise,
it's
and
confidential.
Absolutely. And what I learned was, very often survivors do not want to go to the police. They just want to be seen, and they want to be heard. They want someone to just
understand,
be present, understand, listen, not give them advice, not just be there and give them some space too. And so all of these things started making so much sense to me. And I put committees together, and we created Esperanza Dance Project, which the components today are, I started with a high school program because that's what I knew.
Sure.
I knew high school students. I created a performance piece that it's fully narrated. There are 5 dances within the big piece that each have to do with different feelings and emotions that a young or any survivor of sexual violence, sexual assault may experience. So, mental health issues in terms of anxiety, depression, maybe suicidal ideations, self-harm. We do not act anything out. We don't reenact anything.
Sure, of course.
We don't tell any one person's story. We tell everybody's story.
Yeah.
And so throughout the year, well, there's so much about Esperanza. We have a curriculum that goes along with it, and they're printed that every student receives their own copy. There is information about dance and choreography, information about costumes that the dancers wear, uh, music that was chosen. There are learning objectives in the curriculum. There are really wonderful journaling questions in the curriculum. There's a page on how do I know if a friend and or family member is suffering and from trauma and might be in need of support. So different things to look for. And then the last page is a resource page where either the student or a friend or family member can find support. We go into the school the week before to talk to students about what they're going to see. We hand out curriculum at that point, go through that, show them, especially the resource page.
Sure.
Then the following week, we go back to the school, we do the performance. And after every performance, and this is probably my and the dancer's favorite part
Sure.
of what we do a Q&A, and all of the Esperanza dancers are peer advocates. They go through a yearly training, and they learn how to talk in a way about sexual violence in a way that the students can relate to.
Sure.
And begin to identify some of the feelings, some of the emotions, and about 2.5 years ago, I created a middle school project.
I was just going to ask about that because the other was high school level. Right.
Yes. So now the middle school one, the model is, I use the high school as the model.
Sure.
So it has all the components, but we don't blatantly deal with sexual violence and sexual trauma, although it is mentioned in the narrative and the narration, but in an underlying way. Like, the students get it. We mostly deal with mental health issues, bullying, feelings of not belonging,
and where to go for help, how to even ask for help, how to know if, like, because people often don't know what to do as a next step. They know they're hurting, but it's hard to know, like, what can I do? And just offering a path or a variety of paths can make all the difference. I do have one question. When you go into the schools, have you ever been turned away? Are schools did you let the schools know that this is available, and then what? They have to agree, obviously. And is it during school hours? Is it an after school program? How does that work?
So it is during school hours, and we tried it during the school where I taught. We had a morning hour and a half that was called conference period. Some schools call it advisory.
I see.
A time that students have to go for extra
help. It's been a
help.
while since I've been in a high school. It's all coming back to me.
So we tried it during that time as, like, to any student who wanted to come. It didn't work. So at the beginning, I was going directly to school administrators. I had the full support of my
and it was a public school, yes?
Yes.
Yeah.
And it was a smaller high school than some others. However, the school that I taught at was on a campus that was shared with another school. The school that I was employed by is a college prep high school and it's public, a traditional public.
Yeah.
but kids had to test in to get into the school, and it was you know, well, that was my school. And so my administration knew from the beginning what I was doing.
Sure.
They donated my dance studio to me so I could use it after school
Fabulous.
hours. It
Yeah.
was wonderful. They donated the auditorium for our performances. The other school, which was a traditional neighborhood high school, had a whole different admin. And at first, it was very hard to help school administrators understand why this is important, how we can help students in a way.
What year would this have been? Like, was this
2011.
so? It was a long time ago. Well,
Yes,
it was, yeah, a lot's changed since then, but
a
yeah,
lot has changed since COVID,
yeah,
actually.
yeah,
COVID
yeah,
made such a huge
yeah.
difference.
And we'll talk about that in a moment. But
So then what I figured out was, okay, I am going to find a way. So,
I love you, kid.
my counselor friends, I would go to them, different teachers. So, I different schools I would get into. And okay, I will say that those teachers at those schools, like one teacher has a very big dance program, and
Mhm.
they welcomed us in immediately.
Yep.
And they then were the go-between to their administration.
Nice.
And yeah, and we always have school, well, the teachers have to stay with their
Of
students.
course, yeah.
And I always, or I and some of my staff, my program manager, we meet with the teachers to talk about the whole process. And then we always try to have one of their guidance counselors present, and that we talk to the guidance counselors about, if it is possible, if they can clear that day so that they're available to students. And
Oh, after the so if somebody looks
yes.
for needs help. Are there still school nurses in public schools, or has the funding been cut? Are they helpful? Are they part of this?
So at my school, there was a full nursing staff. There was
Oh, I
one
never had
RN,
that.
one LPN,
Oh my God.
and then the third one, I think she might have been, I'm not sure what
But you had more than one.
we did.
Wow,
Uh,
that's unusual.
it is. Elementary schools, I think, share nurses, so
Yeah,
they have a few schools.
yeah,
And I've been out of my school now since during COVID time.
yeah, yeah.
I do know that the nursing staff, the health office staff that was there when I was there 5 years ago is still there on that campus. So
Wow, that says a
yeah,
lot. Yeah.
yes. And let's see, you asked.
I was asking if there were barriers, like if some of the schools really they were pushing back because it's a sensitive topic. They didn't want to deal with the fallout if students came forward. You know, it's not an easy topic, but yet look at the statistics you were citing. So whether they want to deal with it or not, it's in the classroom anyway. So,
Yes.
and the
Yes.
kids really deserve a helping hand when they're
Absolutely. So I had principals say to me, high school principals, that I'm so sorry, this is not something that our students need. Another principal said to me, I'm so sorry, we are not opening that can of worms. I flat out said it to me as an educator. That blew me away. And then another one said, no, we do not give up instructional time for things like performances. And what
Completely missing the entire point, but okay.
exactly. And one of my collaborators from the beginning of Esperanza said to me, Beth, they have no idea that they are already giving up instructional time.
Of course.
And what I saw as a high school educator is I would say statistically that really it's not 1 in 4, and most people who work in the area of sexual trauma know that most people never tell
Of
anybody.
course.
And
That's what we
I
know. It's what we don't know that's still vastly underreported. Yeah.
yes, and I think it's 1 out of every 2 people, and male or female,
Sure.
because I
Well,
think
one of my questions that I've been thinking about getting ready for today was, or is, what have you seen change in terms of the young people's willingness to talk about the topic? Is there more of I mean, the schools, this is a very fraught time, so it's a little bit out of the ordinary to begin with. On top of everything, you're in a state, Arizona, where things are more conservative than other states. So, but all of that as a backdrop, what about the young people themselves? Is it still difficult, or is there, because of stigma, because of fear, because of whatever? Do you see a shift in the willingness to be open and the questions that are being asked at after the performance, or is it pretty much stayed about the same? How has it or hasn't it changed?
what I found from the very beginning
Hmm.
was once we started talking about it, ha- teenagers want to talk, and they so want to be seen and heard and not told, you know,
Or
you're not
judged.
depressed. You have nothing to be depressed about.
Right.
And what I have seen is that not only do they want to talk about these things, there are so many other things that, you know, Zoom is a wonderful tool and can really cause a tremendous amount of harm in young people's lives.
How
And
so? How so, Beth? What do you mean?
um so much grooming happens,
Oh, got it,
social
got it, got it, got it,
media,
got it, got it. Okay.
trafficking, just it made it
Magnet.
so much easier for predators
Oh my God.
to get to youth and to be able to do what they do. And so with that, you know, so many of those things are real to, maybe like they see things in what their friends are doing or that they're doing or that they have done or, and again, they want to talk. And so when I first started doing these
Yeah.
events in high schools, we'd come out at the end and I would say to the students, so, does anybody have a question, a comment? And of course, none of them wanted to be that kid raising their hand.
Right.
No. And so what I realized was, okay, we're going to do this differently. When they come in for the performance, we hand them a blank index card and a
Ah,
pencil. And when I'm doing my introduction, I say to them, at some point, please write down a question or a comment that you might have during the performance. I give them time after the performance.
perfect.
That was and I asked them not to put their names on it.
Right.
And
Game
the
changer.
questions that came were, you know, for all these years, I thought I was the only one. And now I know I'm not alone. Like, just, I have goosebumps right now. some where they just flat out disclose that they have thought or attempted suicide.
Sure.
One wrote just recently on their card that they were celebrating their 9th month of being clean and sober.
Oh,
You know, that
wonderful.
that
Yeah.
typically does not happen, that students feel safe enough, feel supported enough to be able to ask these questions. Another question we just got was, what if the person who hurt you actually loves you?
Isn't that? Mm-hmm.
And, we leave, all of us, the dancers, so the dancers are between 14 and 30, mid-ish 30s.
And they're the ones trained in the peer, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
And
Okay.
so as many of those questions that come, like I'm kind of the moderator in the Q&A.
Sure.
I really try to turn as much over to the dancers as possible because they're closer in age. I feel like, the youth in the
Yeah.
audience
Will
can
relate.
relate. Yes, absolutely. And a lot of the questions are directed to me about choreography and music and stuff like that. And my daughter's story is told at the beginning of the high school narration and at the end and throughout, without identifying her name or
Of
anything
course.
like that. And with that, a lot of the times they flat out ask me, how did she heal? How did she, and but otherwise the dancers, they do not have to disclose anything about themselves personally other than whatever, usually dance. They talk about how long they've been dancing.
Have you ever gotten a question on the card or some, person comes up to you after, everyone else has left and they kind of linger and say, I'm afraid to go home. What do I do? Can you help me? Has that come up where you then have to do something beyond what you've explained? How does that
Yes, and
work?
I reach out to the guidance counselor.
Oh, okay.
That
That's
is there.
okay. And then they're
Yes.
prepared they have the
Yes.
resources to help the person.
Yes. And usually the times that has happened, or similar things that they'll say
Sure.
something, I do go to the guidance counselor who stays after. They stay until every student is gone, and they usually know who the student is. They
Interesting.
usually,
Okay.
yeah, they
It's not
usually
a
say,
surprise. Yeah.
yeah, no, not. Well, I had gotten a card, an anonymous card that did talk about suicide and
Mm-hmm.
attempts and whatnot, and I just went over and handed to. There, a lot of high schools and middle schools have social workers now
Yeah,
in the
sure. Now,
schools,
yeah. Yeah.
and I handed the social worker the card, and he said, "I know who this is, and I will call them down today."
Yeah.
And so, um, I feel like that is a built-in, additional support system
Sure.
that we cannot give the students, but we do often. The dancers stay, we let the students know, if you need us, we're here, we're gonna stick around for a little bit. We always make sure when someone comes and says, my friend, a lot of times we know it's not their friend, it's
Right.
them.
Yeah.
Well, make sure you point out this hotline to your friend. Make sure and, Mr. So and so or Miss So and so is a
Ready
safe
to
person on
jump
your
in. Yeah.
campus, and you can go talk to them. Yeah.
Wow. Wow. And so, first of all, the name Esperanza, I believe, means hope, right? Yeah. So in addition to, you can't have anything without hope, but hope isn't in and of itself enough. So all these resources, and anybody that listens to me for 2 seconds knows that I really do believe there is such a strong uh, medical connection between the arts and healing, all forms. I've talked primarily about music, visual arts, but one of the reasons I was so excited to talk to you is I think there are dance therapists, there is literature on the biochemical improvements in the body and the brain. We talked about it earlier, but we've got to get more attention so that schools and health professions and insurance companies are willing to cover the costs of programs that are obviously literally providing a lifeline to people, younger and older. And, because I will say sexual violence does not stop when somebody graduates high school. It goes on and on and on, even all the way up through nursing homes and long-term care facilities, psych institutions. It does not stop. There is no age limit. And the more we're really willing and able to talk about these issues and not say we don't open these can of worms, I have another name for it. It's not a can of worms, but there it is. And we have to keep pushing on this. And so I am going to take a wild stab here and guess that there's not much coverage for these kind of programs in terms of health insurance. Or am I going to be sadly, am I going to be happily proven wrong?
Well,
or a mix?
I know I have seen, so when I was volunteering in the eating disorders
Okay.
rehab
Yeah.
program, they brought groups of their clients, patients to our dance. This was before I had Esperanza.
Okay.
And worked with a different dance company. They would bring their teen groups and some adults to our studio for dance movement. And, so that was covered by insurance if they were there at that facility because they took insurance at that facility.
Understood.
I think I know that people who teach yoga, people who and other somatic body work, dancers, other artists, we all know how that all of those things can help a survivor, can help so many people dealing with so many issues,
100%.
whether physical, emotional. And so we were included in a book a couple of years ago that was written by a few professors at Arizona State University, which is not in Tucson. That one's up in the Phoenix area.
Yeah.
And their book was on art and healing of sexual trauma. And I was so thrilled that they found us, they found our website, reached out to us, and I was so excited to be a part of that.
Of course, as you should be.
It's getting the information out.
Do you know the name of the title? Because I could link to it, or you can send it to me, Beth, and when we post everything, we can include that for sure.
Yes, I usually have the book.
No worries. We'll make sure to get it. The thing that I think is so maybe not unique, but so important, where the emphasis on the work that you all are doing is you're relating to young people and providing a way for them to take those first few steps to even understand, A, that it isn't only them, it isn't anything they did, that they can talk about it in a place that won't judge. They can try to then figure out, how the hell do I get some help somewhere from someone who's going to believe me, which is often, a problem. And at least getting a place that, as the young person told you, every time she came into your studio felt like her life was being saved. I mean, come on. And the other work that has to be done, not necessarily by you and your team, but it's like we have to get the people in the schools to understand, A, whether they want to deal with it or not, they are dealing with it. The same way you want to deal with hunger or not, a hungry kid can't learn. Someone who's experiencing such utter fear and trauma at home for whatever reason is not coming to school fully ready to learn, and so on and so on. And certain issues are really uncomfortable to talk about. There's legal ramifications, there's uncomfortable the whole shebang. And that's just tough. Too bad. You may not want to deal with it, but F you, it has to be dealt with, because these are the kids that you signed up to take care of and help. And that doesn't mean just like checking the boxes. And we all know, I do know, because my whole family is in education, except for my son, the lawyer. But, everybody understands it's really hard to get through a day with everything that's required. But at the end of the day, if the kid is hurting, I mean, there's really nothing more important than helping this child. And even in high school, they're still children.
Oh,
They're still babies in so many ways.
absolutely. Absolutely. And with that, what I saw was that the the kids who were the problem children, the bad kids, the disruptive kids, the whatever, those are the kids who are hurting the most. And we know that it becomes and I know, like you said, the boxes have to be checked.
Right, you were in the class. You were one of those people
Yes,
that had to answer to all that, and that's
yes,
legitimate and it's a thing, but it doesn't stop you from
right,
having to go that next step.
right, right. And it is a next step. It is to, go to the student's guidance counselor and say, you know, so and so they're never on time for school. And a lot of educators just are so annoyed with that. You
Mm-hmm.
just have to be here. You just
Right,
have, well, why can't they be here on time? Or why can't they show up?
right,
Period.
right.
Why are they not in school? And after a while, when kids are not there, not there, not there, not there, well, teachers have 30 other kids to take care of.
Of course.
And so those students often sadly disappear.
Yeah,
And then it's like, I haven't seen them in a month, and what happened to them? And no one wants to think about that, what
right.
could have happened to that student. Um, but it can't continue that way. That
But
because
so what happened during COVID? And I know we're getting close to time, so I want to be respectful. So I'm going to ask you about that and then my wrap-up question. But I am
okay,
curious to know what you saw during COVID, because you mentioned that things changed.
yeah, so COVID, when everything first shut down,
Yeah.
and we were all trying to figure out, how to conduct class virtually, how do you do dance class virtually?
Oh
Like, that
gosh.
was
Yeah.
unheard of. Now it's done all the time.
Oh,
Um,
okay.
Students, that first couple of months before the end of the semester, here, at least in my school district, I know it was probably around the same around the state, I'm pretty sure.
Okay.
Students were not required to physically be in class because there was no level playing field. Some students had laptops, some did not.
Ah,
And it
okay.
happened so suddenly that they could
Yes,
not get laptops
got it.
whereas then the following fall, everything was different. And, they got laptops to kids. They were working on bandwidth. We were all figuring out what platform the school was going to use. Like, we were getting training, kids were getting training. So kids were attending, they were showing up, but there were a tremendous amount of students who would not turn their camera on. And
Mm,
at first, we were all very annoyed and said, you may not do that. Well, then numerous people in education started to understand that,
why? Yeah.
and and people actually started talking about it could be that this child now is home 24/7 with their abuser. It so many new things that interfere with kids
Cool.
being able to show up for school was becoming more real
Yep.
and more obvious. And um
Visible.
yes. So, and then when students came back to school in person, I retired during COVID for many reasons. Um, what I heard from my educator friends was that the kids came back and they didn't know how to behave in social settings anymore. They it was really
All
hard for them.
thrown off. Yeah.
Yes, and there were way more fights happening on campuses. There were, you know, just things that hadn't happened prior to COVID were happening. So I know things are changing again in schools today,
Hmm.
and schools are starting to find ways to deal with
Sure.
the to deal with trauma, to deal with mental health issues, so that has been very interesting and very sad, and students are still recovering
Oh, I
from.
know. Yeah. And the teachers too. I mean, it
Yes.
was really just, I don't even know what the right words are to say. It was not easy. Let's just call it the obvious. But the work continues. And what is the website for Esperanza Dance Project, Beth, if people want to
it
look before I put it up?
it is Esperanza Dance Project, one word, .org.
Okay, .org, and Esperanza has a Z like zebra,
Yes.
Esperanza danceproject.org, and we will have that on the Health Jane website, and
Thank you.
Rain and the book and any other resources that you have that you want to share whenever convenient. And I can't let you go without my last question, which of course is favorite song, because there again, music in the brain is such an important component of what, we're trying to let people understand. So we will add your song, which is either your favorite song or best reflects the work you're doing, to the Health Jane playlist. So I have my pen ready to write it down.
So this is not my favorite song. I do really love it. I think Rihanna Lift Me Up. That is one of the songs that's in our middle school piece.
Oh, perfect.
And yeah, that is one of the parts that a lot of the students just really relate to. And yeah. So I
Perfect. So we will add Rihanna, Lift Me Up. to the playlist. Correct? Did I get it right? Yeah.
And I say one
Yeah, of
one
course.
last thing is that along with performing in schools and working with youth, we also perform at mental health conferences, at
Ah,
conferences that have to deal with sexual trauma, and domestic violence and community events. And so if anybody is watching out there, and we performed at a big child abuse prevention conference that happens here in Phoenix every year, and there were like 800
oh my gosh.
who work in that field, which is really amazing to give people the experience to understand everything that you and I just talked about.
Right, because there is a way forward. There is a way to reach people. There is a way to have young people and not so young people feel safe. And you've already developed the curriculum. There's always more to do, but when you look back over the years, starting at 5, you fell in love with dance. I want to say I'm remembering Alvin Ailey, your mom might have taken you to, or New York City Ballet. Of course, it was New York because, for me, all things start and stop in New York City, but that's just my bias. But I mean, how do you not fall in love with dance? But whatever, different, words are so powerful, but they're not always sufficient. And everybody reacts, responds, learns, is comforted with different forms of being able to share something. And this is, people can be trained. You have developed this model that is so scalable, replicable, and so on. And so whatever we can do to spread the word, and it really, I mean, you breathed life into this magnificent project to help all these people. And yes, it started from a personal place, and so you really understand what people are going through, and just the pain. But out of that pain can come a way to move forward. It's always there, I'm sure, in the back of your mind, in the front, what have you. But being able to help other people is such a gift, and you've shown us how we can do this. And there are a couple of people in this space that I will definitely share the link with, one of whom is doing some really interesting work on domestic violence with a big payer, actually, and a foundation associated. So I definitely want to connect you guys. Um, but I think, for sure the work continues. It never slows down. And so we'll keep updating folks about the work in this field. And even if people don't live in Arizona, there are other organizations, not the same. I mean, in some ways, you guys are doing something quite unique, but there are other organizations that do help through dance, for people who are going through some kind of sexual trauma, sexual violence, domestic violence. And again, it is so wonderful to be able to share all that you've done. I mean, I've just watched with such, awe of what you've built. It's really hard to build a nonprofit. It's really hard to build a nonprofit on this topic. It's really hard to build a nonprofit on this topic in Arizona. But you've done it all. You've done it all and then some. And so I'm really just so deeply appreciative, Beth. And, I know that we could talk for another 4 hours if we let ourselves, but uh, duty calls, right? So anyway, I will be in touch. I can't thank you enough, and it is just wonderful to see you and have a chance to share all that you're doing. Keep up the great work, and thank you for everything you're doing, Beth. And I will for sure be in touch. So have a good rest of the day. And yes, and we'll get all the resources up so people can, as they're feeling comfortable, to be able to do that, to take a look and go further if necessary. Thanks again, Beth. I'll be in touch. Bye now.